Joey Barton has never exactly been shy when it comes to speaking his mind. Whether you agree with him or not, he's always said exactly what he thinks, and this time was no different. With Russell Martin under increasing pressure at Ibrox, Barton didn't hold back. And what's caught so many people off guard is just how much of what he said seems to have struck a nerve with the Rangers' support. This wasn't just Barton looking for headlines. This was a scathing, brutally honest take that's got plenty of fans nodding in agreement. During a recent appearance on a podcast, Barton launched into a full-blown rant aimed at the Rangers' boss, mocking the way Martin has spoken about defeats, as if losing narrowly somehow counts as progress. Russell nonsense, he called it. That kind of chat after a 1-0 loss, talking about how they played well, how there were positives to take. Barton wasn't having it. And neither, it seems, are a growing number of Rangers fans. What made it all the more impactful was the way Barton delivered it, full-on Scottish accent, mimicking the kind of empty optimism some supporters feel is all too familiar under Martin. A good 1-0 defeat, played well, there was brightness, he sneered. But the punchline came when he said what so many are already thinking, that the fans are fed up, that this isn't good enough, and that Ibrox isn't the place for soft words and second-place mentalities. Barton went even further, comparing Rangers to Manchester United in terms of size, stature, and expectation. In his words, Rangers is an establishment club, a club that doesn't just want to win, but expects to win. And when a manager comes in who doesn't match that mentality, who doesn't carry the weight of the badge the way a Walter Smith once did, it doesn't sit well. The crowd wants one of their own, someone who gets it, who understands what it means to wear the crest and represent a club with that level of history. Now, normally Barton is the kind of guy who splits opinion, but this time, he's being backed by large sections of the fan base. Because what he said, for better or worse, is resonating. Russell Martin might have a plan. He might have studied the game, built his vision. But this is Glasgow. This is Rangers. And vision without victories means nothing. The stats don't help Martin's case either. 1 win from 6 in the Scottish Premiership. And even that one, away to Livingston, came via a last-gasp winner in stoppage time. Not exactly the stuff to inspire confidence. And when your team finally scrapes a result and the fans are still booing, still turning their frustrations toward the dugout, that's when you know the situation is far from stable. Martin, to his credit, has tried to take it on the chin. He says he won't walk away, and that he's asking for patience from those above him at the club. He even admitted recently that he doesn't take the criticism personally, except when it comes to one thing. He spoke about being saddened by the abuse he started getting from younger supporters, saying he's seen kids swearing at him, giving him the middle finger from the stands. That, he says, doesn't upset him for his own sake, but more for what it represents. A cycle of negativity that's now reaching even the youngest generation of fans. It's a tough spot, because when you're the manager of Rangers, you're under scrutiny from the second you take the job. Every decision, every substitution, every press conference gets picked apart, and when the results don't back you up, that pressure multiplies tenfold. And part of the anger isn't just about the results, it's about recruitment. This summer, Rangers had a net spend of around £20 million. Not a small number, especially by Scottish football standards. But how many of those new signings have actually improved the starting 11? That's where the real concern lies. You've got signings like Sean Weissman, £10 million from Everton, still being referred to as a project. Emmanuel Fernandez and Jagger have barely kicked a ball. Derek Cornelius is only in on loan. And the core of the team, the players driving the season forward, Butland, Tavernier, Souter, Raskin, they're all leftovers from the previous regime. Then you've got the Clinton-Ciala situation, which has become a bit of a symbol for everything that's wrong with the club's current approach. Signed from AC Milan's youth setup for pennies, Ciala was seen as a smart, forward-thinking signing, low cost, high potential, a modern defender. He even got his chance under Philippe Clement when injuries forced a reshuffle, and to be fair to him, he showed glimpses of promise. Solid against St. Johnstone, composed versus Aberdeen. A left-footed center-back, something Rangers have lacked for years. But then Russell Martin came in, and everything changed. Ciala was suddenly out of the picture. Training with the reserves, lumped in with other fringe players like Ridvan and Jose Cifuentes. And while Ciala stayed professional, even posting a quiet "still here" on Instagram, the message was clear: he was no longer part of the plan. What's baffling is that even with injuries and inconsistent form among the new defenders, Musiala never really got another proper chance. And when he did, like in the Europa League clash with Athletic Club, he didn't look out of his depth. Far from it. So why not use him? Especially when the club was scrambling to bring in more defenders late in the window. Fernandes, Nasa, Cornelius, all brought in, all failing to cement a spot. Meanwhile, Musiala is still there, still training, still available, and yet completely overlooked. Even when the club is down to the bare bones in defense, he's not seen as a viable option. That tells its own story. It's not just center back either. At left back, things are stretched. With Yilmaz, Robbie Fraser, and Jeff Day all gone, only Jayden McGomb remains as a recognized option, and he's been playing a more inverted role under Martin. Again, it begs the question, why not at least consider Musiala as depth? There were even offers. Clubs like Westerlo and Dynamo Kiev showed interest. But nothing got over the line. And now the player's stuck in limbo, left wondering where he fits into a squad that's been reshaped but remains riddled with the same old issues. The whole thing underlines a bigger problem. The club spent big, but how many of those signings are making a genuine impact? And if the plan is to invest in youth and unearth hidden gems, why discard one of the few promising young players you already have? Russell Martin continues to talk about process, patience, and culture shifts. But none of that matters if you're not winning. This isn't a club that accepts mediocrity. The standards are sky high, the pressure relentless, and the fans, as we've seen, will not stay silent when they feel their club is being mismanaged. That's what makes Barton's comments so powerful. Because love him or loathe him, what he said cuts deep. Rangers are not a project. They're not a developmental side. They're a giant of Scottish football, and right now, they're being run like a club that's lost its identity. And if Russell Martin can't get that, if he can't adapt quickly and deliver results, then the noise around Ibrox is only going to get louder. Barton may have said it with sarcasm and swagger, but the message couldn't be clearer. The fans are watching, and they're not impressed. While Barton's rant might have set the tone, the unrest inside Ibrox runs far deeper than just one man's opinion. What's really bubbling under the surface is a growing disconnect between the direction the club says it's heading and what's actually unfolding on the pitch. For all the talk of a new era, smarter recruitment, and building for the future, the truth is the same old frustrations are piling up, and patience among the Rangers' support is wearing thin. Clinton Musiala is just one example of how the so-called new model at Rangers isn't delivering the way it was promised. Brought in from AC Milan's youth ranks, he was meant to be a long-term investment, young, talented, and cheap, with the potential to develop into a first-team regular or at the very least generate a profit down the line. On paper, it made sense. But in practice, it's been handled with confusion, mixed messages, and ultimately a feeling of wasted potential. Under Philippe Clement, Musiala wasn't exactly a guaranteed starter, but he got chances when the squad was stretched. And when he did play, he showed character. He wasn't perfect, no young defender is, but he didn't look out of place. In a backline that's had its fair share of shakiness, his calmness on the ball and ability to cover ground stood out. And let's not forget, he's one of the few natural left-sided center halves at the club, a profile that's been lacking for years. But the minute Russell Martin came in, Musiala disappeared from the picture. Not phased out slowly, just gone. Pushed to the side, training with players the club was actively trying to move on. You hear phrases like, he needs more time, or he's not ready yet. But that doesn't hold much weight when others are being thrown into the team with even less experience or pedigree. It starts to feel less like development and more like politics. Even when injuries hit, when form dipped, when results weren't going their way, Musiala was barely an afterthought. And yet, when finally called upon in the Europa League, he did what was asked of him. No fuss, no drama, just a solid shift. That kind of attitude, in a young player who's barely been given a sniff, should count for something. But at Rangers right now, it doesn't seem to. Instead, the club spent the summer chasing more defenders, bringing in players like Fernandes and Cornelius, the former still untested at this level, the latter only here on loan. They may go on to prove themselves, sure, but the message it sends to players already in the building is loud and clear. You can work hard, show promise, do your job, and still be overlooked if you're not part of the manager's current vision. It's not just a football issue. It speaks to the instability around the club as a whole. For all the talk of long-term planning, it often feels like the club is reacting rather than building. Sign a bunch of new faces, then reshuffle a few months later when things don't click. Managers change, players rotate, philosophies shift, but the core problems remain untouched. There's no continuity, and that's deadly for a club like Rangers. Take the fullback situation. James Tavernier, for all the stick he gets, remains one of the most influential players at the club. But where's the depth behind him? Same story on the left. With Yilmaz, Robbie Fraser, and Jeff Day all out the door, the only recognized left back is Jayden McGowan. Talented, yes, and clearly being molded into a new role under Martin. But how does that make sense when you've got a player like Nsiala who could at least offer cover, especially when Martin's system sometimes asks fullbacks to tuck in? It's decisions like these that have fans scratching their heads. It's not just about Nsiala. It's about a broader question: what's the plan? Because right now, it feels like Rangers are trying to be a development club and a title contender at the same time, and they're not succeeding at either. Then there's the manager himself. Russell Martin came in with big ideas. Talked about playing out from the back, controlling games, dominating possession. But that only works when you've got the players to execute it. And more importantly, the belief in the dressing room to back it up. When results don't follow, when fans are booing even after a win, that belief gets harder to sustain. Martin insists the squad is united. That behind the scenes, there's a strong sense of togetherness, that the staff are all pulling in the same direction. But when the product on the pitch doesn't match the words, fans start to switch off. And once the crowd turns at Ibrox, it's a hard road back. You saw it even after the late win against Livingston. Max Aarons gets the winner, the players celebrate, but the focus quickly turns to the manager again. Chants, boos, fingers pointed, and Martin walking straight down the tunnel, saying he wanted to let the players enjoy the moment. Maybe that's true, or maybe he just didn't want to face the noise. He later admitted it gets to him. Not so much the criticism itself, but the moments when he sees kids in the stands hurling abuse, mimicking the behavior of adults. For a man who clearly believes in culture and values, that's a hard pill to swallow. But this is Glasgow. It's not about what's fair or unfair, it's about results. The truth is, Russell Martin might not get the time he wants. Football rarely gives you that luxury, and Rangers absolutely don't. This is a club where second place is failure, and every match day feels like Judgment Day. And the more fans see a lack of identity, a lack of urgency, the louder the calls will become. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers are swirling around Ibrox as Rangers have reportedly secured the signature of Matt O'Reilly on loan. And if the buzz is anything to go by, the Glaswegian faithful have plenty to get excited about. Sources close to the club hint that the arrival of the young midfielder could add a fresh spark to Rangers' creative engine, a department that has been in need of a little magic this season. O'Reilly, whose performances south of the border have caught the eye of a few Premier League scouts, is said to be eager to prove himself on Scottish soil, and there's talk that Stephen Davis and the coaching staff have been instrumental in convincing him that Ibrox is the place to do just that. Insiders claim that O'Reilly's vision and ball-carrying abilities are exactly what Rangers have been missing, with his knack for threading passes and unlocking stubborn defenses potentially lifting the team to a new level. Fans are already speculating whether he'll slot straight into Giovanni van Bronckhorst's preferred formation, or if the manager will tweak his midfield setup to fully exploit O'Reilly's creativity. The young Dane, or is it English, midfielder has been praised for his composure under pressure, an attribute that Rangers desperately need in tight domestic clashes and European nights that can hinge on a single pass or moment of brilliance. There's a growing hum around the terraces about just how much of a difference O'Reilly could make. Could he be the missing link between the midfield and Alfredo Morelos, or perhaps the creative outlet to free Ryan Kent from his wide duties? Pundits and supporters alike are already theorizing, with some daring to dream that the loan could be a game-changer, especially in tight Old Firm encounters where a touch of ingenuity often makes the difference. Naturally, as with all rumors, a pinch of salt is advised. But if the chatter proves true, Ibrox might just have acquired not only a gifted footballer, but a player capable of elevating the spectacle on the pitch. The coming weeks will be fascinating, with fans waiting eagerly for his first touch in Rangers blue. One thing is certain, the Berg is buzzing, and if O'Reilly can translate his promise into performances, this could be one of the most talked about loans in recent memory. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.